Somewhere in this video is a little metal tab that clips onto your phone and lets it see a person's body heat in total darkness. There's a communicator the size of a matchbox that texts for rescue from country, so remote no cell signal reaches it. And there's a flashlight, one of the biggest names in tactical gear, sells only from its own shop, never on Amazon. 50 pieces of kit that feel military grade, real prices, every link below. Let's get into it. There are still enormous stretches of this country where a phone is a dead brick, no bars, no data, nobody coming. This little orange slab is the answer, because it does not lean on cell towers at all. It talks straight to a ring of satellites overhead. You can text your family from the bottom of a canyon, follow a route back out, and if it truly goes wrong, hold the SOS and reach a rescue center that answers around the clock. The Garmin InReach Mini 2 runs $350, and yes, the messaging needs a subscription on top, the part people grumble about. But weigh that against being hurt, alone, and completely unreachable, and it stops feeling like a gadget and starts feeling like insurance. Hunters and backcountry skiers keep one clip to a pack for the single day they pray they never need it. This is the flashlight cops and first responders actually carry, and holding one you understand why in about 2 seconds. The ProTac 2LX throws a hard 500 lumen beam out past 160 meters. The body is aircraft aluminum under military spec anodizing, and it shrugs off being dropped, soaked, or run over. It charges over USB, but will also swallow a pair of CR123 cells when you are far from an outlet and cannot wait. Around $72, which for a light built to this standard is genuinely modest. There is a programmable tail switch, one click for full blast, a fast double tap for a strobe that buys you a second to think. It rides in a pocket or a glove box and asks nothing of you until the power's out or the dog bolts into the dark, and then it earns its keep every single time. "18 real tools folded into a slab of stainless steel that fits in your palm, pliers, wire cutters, 2 knives, saw, file, screwdrivers, scissors, and every one of them locks open so nothing folds back on your fingers under load. The Leatherman Wave Plus is the multi-tool other multi-tools get measured against, built in the United States, and backed by a 25-year warranty that tells you how long they expect it to last. It sets you back $130. Owners will tell you it quietly solves 2 or 3 little emergencies a week you would otherwise have limped through. A stripped screw, a snapped zip tie, a package you could not open. Pick one up and it becomes the thing you notice the absence of the moment you leave it at home. That is usually the mark of a tool that has earned its spot. What if the pitch black tree line at the edge of your property simply stopped being able to hide anything? Point this monocular into it and warm bodies light up against the cold background. A deer, a coyote, a person crouched where they should not be, out to a quarter mile, in absolute darkness, through fog and smoke that would blind a normal camera. The HIC Microlynx 2.0 is a genuine thermal imager, the kind of capability that used to live only in a military budget, and it records what it sees. It is the priciest thing here at about $550, and it earns that because thermal reads heat instead of light, so nothing can camouflage its way past it. Ranchers scan for predators, search teams sweep for the lost, and homeowners finally learn what has been tripping the motion light at 3 in the morning, without ever giving away that they are watching. The lights die, the phones are draining, and nobody knows how long the outage will run. That is the exact moment this thing was built for. The Goal Zero Torch 500 is a 500 lumen spotlight and floodlight, a lantern, and a power bank welded into one rugged, weatherproof body, and it refills 3 different ways. A wall charger, a built-in solar panel, or a hand crank when there's nothing else. You grab it direct from Goal Zero for around $50. Point the spot down a driveway, flip to the wide flood to light a whole room, or plug your phone into the side and buy yourself another emergency call. It is the piece you want already sitting charged in a closet before the storm hits, because the day you go looking for one is the day the shelves are already bare. When the grid goes down, the cell network is usually the very first thing to fall with it, and this is how people keep talking to each other anyway. The Baofeng UV5R is a handheld 2-way radio that has quietly become the default backup comms for preppers, storm chasers, and search teams across the country, mostly because it costs almost nothing to get started. A 2-pack lands at roughly $32, which is a little shocking for a radio that reaches for miles and pulls in weather alerts and local emergency channels. There is a catch worth saying out loud. Transmitting on some of its bands legally requires an amateur radio license, and the test is easier than people fear. But even sitting there listening, before you ever key the mic, it turns the terrifying silence of a blackout into a room full of voices telling you what is actually happening out there. Hold these to your eyes in a yard with no moon, and the whole scene blooms into clear daylight on a little screen, out past 200 yards. The Nightfox Corsac is a set of digital night vision goggles that records everything it sees. Full 1080p video, straight onto the memory card in the box, so you keep proof of whatever wandered through. It runs about $150, which for real recording night vision is a genuine bargain. The infrared it uses to light the dark is invisible to the eye, so you are watching an animal or a stretch of fence line, and it never has the faintest idea it is being watched. People buy one to settle a simple, nagging question: what exactly is crossing the property after midnight? Point these at it once and you finally have the answer, in sharp black and white. Here's the strange part about this power bank. It holds 10,000 milliamp hours, enough to refill a phone 2 or 3 times over, yet it weighs about as much as that phone does empty. Nitecore pulls that off by wrapping the whole thing in a carbon fiber shell instead of the usual heavy aluminum, which also makes it shrug off drops and rated to survive a soaking. You order it direct from Nitecore for around $50. Thru-hikers obsess over this one because every ounce in a pack matters over 20 miles, but the appeal is broader. It is simply the charger you forget is in your bag until the moment your screen turns red on a day you cannot afford a dead phone. Small, tough, and far lighter than it has any right to be. Ever had your hands go so cold and clumsy that you genuinely cannot work a zipper or dial a phone? This is the fix, and it is cleverer than the old shake-to-warm packets your grandfather carried. The Zippo HeatBank 9S is a rechargeable steel hand warmer that pushes out steady heat for up to 9 hours on a charge, with 6 settings so you are not stuck choosing between freezing and scorched. It goes for about $45. And here is the quiet bonus. It doubles as a power bank, so the same brick that thaws your fingers at a cold football game will also top up your phone. Slip it in a coat pocket on a winter hike, hand it to someone whose circulation runs cold, or keep it in the car for the morning the heater takes forever. Warmth on demand, no open flame, no waste. This flat little tool does the 2 jobs you always seem to need at the worst possible moment. It cuts and it prees, and it disappears into a pocket while it waits. The Gerber pry bar packs a slide-out utility blade alongside a genuine pry bar, plus a nail puller, a bottle opener, and a handful of small drivers, all in a frame barely thicker than a few stacked coins. It is only about $25, which makes it one of those tools you buy almost on a whim and then reach for constantly. Break down a mountain of moving boxes, lever open a stubborn paint lid, pop a staple, crack a bottle, the small, gritty tasks that eat your day when you do not have the right thing on you, slim enough to forget you are carrying it, right up until it saves you a trip to the garage. The real trick of a good headlamp is that it puts a bright beam exactly where you look while leaving both hands completely free to work. The Fenix HM65RT throws up to 1500 lumens from 2 separate LEDs, a tight spotlight down a dark trail, a wide flood for what is right in front of you, and the magnesium body shrugs off a downpour. It comes in around $110. Anyone who has changed a tire in the dark or hiked out after sunset knows the particular misery of holding a flashlight in their teeth. This ends it. It recharges over USB, but also runs on a standard cell you can swap in the field, so a dead battery is never the end of the night. Your phone's map dies the second the signal drops or the battery quits, so how do search teams still know exactly where they stand? A dedicated GPS handheld. The Garmin eTrex SE locks onto multiple satellite networks to fix your position anywhere on Earth. No cell service and no data plan involved, and it does it on 2 AA batteries that last a week and a half. It is about $150. The screen is deliberately plain and readable in blazing sun where a glossy phone washes out to a mirror. Drop a pin on the truck before you walk into the woods and it walks you right back, or mark a water source and follow a track out in a whiteout. It is navigation that keeps working long after the clever pocket computer has quit. Casio built this watch to survive things that would end most electronics, and the reputation is entirely earned. The G-Shock Rangeman charges itself from any light and sets its own time off an atomic radio signal, so it is essentially always right and effectively never needs a battery. Under that sits the famous G-Shock Armor, shockproof, water resistant to 200 meters, built to laugh at drops in mud. It runs about $285. There's a reason you see these on the wrists of pilots and soldiers, people whose lives run on being on time in places with no wall to plug into. Strap one on and it just keeps keeping time, through the desert, the surf, and the years, asking nothing of you in return. Here is one of the two I promised you at the start. A flashlight from 511, the brand that outfits a good chunk of the country's police and military, and one you will not find on Amazon because they sell it straight from their own shop. The Response X R1 pours out over 1,000 lumens from a compact aluminum body and runs on either a rechargeable cell or throwaway CR123S, ready whether you plan to head or not. It goes for about $89 direct from 511. What sets it apart from a gas station light is the honesty of it. The beam holds its brightness instead of sagging after a minute, and the machining survives the kind of daily abuse that cracks lesser lights in a month. A serious tool from a serious outfitter, and it feels like it the instant you thumb the switch. What is that, moving at the far edge of the field where your eyes give up? This answers it without you flipping on a single light and scaring it off. The Creative XP Night Vision Monocular reaches out 1,600 feet in total darkness and saves photos and clips to a card, so you can go back and study whatever you caught. It is around $180, single eye and one-handed, exactly what you want when the other hand is holding a leash or a fence. Because it lights the scene with infrared the eye cannot register, you become the one with the advantage. You see them clearly and they never see you at all. Property owners walk a perimeter with it after dark. The curious finally watch what the backyard gets up to once the sun is down. An ordinary match is a pitiful little thing in the wind or the wet. One gust, one drop of rain, and you are standing there cold. These are built to make that failure impossible. UCO Titan Stormproof matches burn with a fat, aggressive flame for a full 15 seconds each. They relight themselves after being dunked underwater, and a gale that snuffs a lighter cannot touch them. The kit, with its floating waterproof case and spare strikers, is only about $13. It is the unglamorous item nobody thinks about until the night they are soaked and shivering and need a fire to start on the first try. When the weather is actively trying to stop your fire, this stubbornly wins. This one keeps stacking useful tricks until it starts to feel a little unfair for the price. At its core, the Blaver is a 20,000 mAh power bank, enough to keep a phone alive for days, but it also charges off the sun through fold-out panels, tops up a phone wirelessly if you set it on top, and carries two bright LED flashlights and a compass on the side. All of that runs about $40. Now, solar on a bank this size is a slow trickle, a backup rather than a main course. But stuck somewhere with no outlet for days, a slow charge beats a dead phone every time. It is rugged, splash resistant, and clips to the outside of a pack to sip sunlight while you walk. A lot of insurance crammed into one cheap, tough brick. Split up on a mountain, in a canyon, or across a big property, and your phones turn useless right when staying in touch matters most? The Rocky Talkie was built by climbers for exactly that gap. A rugged little two-way radio with a 5-day battery, a glove-friendly design, and a leash so it does not sail off a cliff. A pair runs about $220, real money. But this is safety gear for people whose hobbies carry actual consequences. Backcountry skiers and off-road convoys swear by them because the connection holds when it counts. No account, no monthly fee, no signal required. Turn them on, set the same channel, and you can talk. And here is the other one from the intro, the gadget that sounds like science fiction until it is plugged into your own phone. The Infraray P2 Pro is a thumbnail-sized thermal camera that slots into a phone's charging port and turns the screen into a heat vision display. Suddenly, you can see the warm draft leaking around a window, the hot breaker about to fail behind a wall, and the body heat of a person or animal in total darkness. It is about $250, and it needs no battery of its own, just a trickle of power from the phone. Electricians and mechanics find faults in seconds that used to take hours of guessing. But hand it to anyone for 5 minutes and they cannot put it down, because it reveals an entire invisible layer of the world that was there the whole time. Unscrew the end of this rugged aluminum tube and it keeps giving, like a magician's coat, more than 50 pieces of survival kit inside something the size of a big flashlight. The VSSL Camp Supplies cylinder hides fire starting gear, a razor, fishing tackle, water bags, first aid supplies, wire, and rope, with a real LED flashlight built into the base and a compass sealed in the waterproof cap. You get it direct from VSSL for around $145. The idea is brilliant in its simplicity. Instead of a survival kit that scatters into 100 loose bits across your pack, everything lives in one indestructible cylinder you can grab in a heartbeat. Keep it in the truck, the boat, or the camp bin. A lighter runs out of fuel and a match gets used up, but this simple steel rod throws a shower of sparks hot enough to start thousands of fires and never once needs refilling. Drag the striker down the bayite ferro rod and it spits sparks at around 5,000 degrees, hot enough to catch tinder in the wind, in the cold, even soaking wet where nothing else has a prayer. It is about $11, and with well over 12,000 reviews behind it, this is the one the survival crowd has quietly settled on. No fuel to leak, no battery to die, no moving part to break. Learn the small knack of using one, and you are never truly without fire again. One of those primal skills that changes how safe you feel out in the world. Most wallet tools are flat stamped cards that bend the first time you actually lean on them. This one folds up into real pliers instead. The next tool, Credit Card Multitool, tucks needle nose pliers, wire cutters, a knife, drivers, and a bottle opener into something the exact size and near the thickness of a bank card, so it slides into a wallet slot and vanishes. It runs about $35. The pliers are the part that surprises people. A genuine gripping, cutting jaw folding out of your wallet feels a little like a magic trick the first time. It will not replace a full multi-tool for heavy work, but for the small fixes that ambush you away from your toolbox, having actual pliers where you would have nothing is the whole game. When the power is out for days rather than hours, a flashlight's tight beam gets exhausting fast. What you actually want is a room that feels lit. The Streamlight Siege is a rugged lantern that throws a soft 540 lumen glow in every direction at once, with a red mode that keeps your night eyes intact, and a hook on the base so it hangs upside down from a tent or a beam. It is about $45, waterproof, and it floats, which matters more than you would think the day it rolls off a dock. There's even a little cover that turns the top into a candle-like low glow for sleeping. It is the difference between huddling around one harsh spotlight and simply having your kitchen back during a blackout. Keep one where you can find it in the dark, because that is the only time you will go looking for it. This is not a camping store compass. It is the actual compass the United States Army issues. Built to a military specification, and it feels like it the moment it lands in your palm. The Kamanga 3H is filled with tritium, a self-powered glow that lights the dial for over a decade with no battery, so it reads in total darkness the same as it does at noon. The aluminum body is waterproof, sandproof, and rated from 50 below zero to 150 above. It sets you back about $125. Real money for a compass, until you remember it is the genuine article soldiers stake their lives on. A phone dies and a GPS can fail, but a magnetic needle and a paper map have guided people home for centuries. Learn to use one and you own a skill that never expires. Folded up, this looks like a harmless little brick of steel. Unfolded, it becomes a shovel, a pick, a saw, a hammer, and about a dozen other things you did not know you needed until you were stuck. The Iunio folding shovel is built from heavy carbon steel to a military entrenching tool pattern, with a head that locks at different angles, so it digs, chops, and scrapes without you bending double. It is only about $36. This is the tool that lives in the trunk for the day. The car is buried in snow, bogged in mud, or you need to clear a downed branch off a back road with nobody around to help. Campers dig fire pits and level tent ground with it. Drivers keep one purely for winter. It packs down to almost nothing and then unfolds into exactly the muscle the situation calls for. Would you drink from that stream or that questionable spigot if the only other option was going thirsty? With this, you would not even hesitate. The Grail Ultra Press works like a French press turned into a water purifier. You scoop up sketchy water, press the inner cylinder down, and in about 10 seconds you are drinking with the viruses, bacteria, and grit stripped out. You buy it straight from Grail for around $90. This is a real step beyond the hollow fiber straws people usually pack, because those let viruses through and this does not. It is rated for the truly nasty water you meet traveling abroad or downstream of who knows what. Toss it in a go bag, a suitcase, or a camp kit. Clean water is the one thing you cannot go more than a few days without. It squashes down to the size of a soda can and weighs almost nothing, yet this thin orange sleeve can be the single thing that carries someone through a freezing night alive. The SOL emergency. Bivvy is a sealed sack of heat-reflective material that bounces up to 90% of your body warmth back at you, so you climb in and your own heat does the work of firewood. It is about $25, waterproof, windproof, and it comes with a rescue whistle built into the drawcord. Hypothermia is what quietly kills people who get lost or hurt after dark, long before hunger or thirst ever become the problem. And this is the cheap, tiny insurance against exactly that. It belongs in every hiking pack, every car, every boat. The one time you need it, nothing else in your bag will matter half as much. Sometimes you just need to pull the far distance in close, read a trail marker across a valley, watch a bird on a far ridge, size up who is at the gate down the road. The CE Optics Falcon Sight is a 12-power monocular you can carry in a shirt pocket, and the clever part is the phone mount in the box. Clip your phone to it, and that distant thing you could barely make out is suddenly a photo or a video on your screen. It is only about $45. A monocular makes a lot more sense than binoculars for one-handed, grab-and-go use. Hikers keep one for scouting the trail ahead, and it rides in a jacket without dragging it down. It will not replace a spotting scope, but for pocket money, it puts a genuinely useful reach in your pocket, ready the instant something far away is worth a closer look. When a hurricane or an ice storm takes down the power and the towers together, the flow of information just stops, and that silence is its own kind of danger. The Midland ER310 is the fix that never runs out of juice because you can wind it by hand, a minute of cranking buys you radio time, and it also refills from the sun or a wall outlet. It pulls in AM, FM, and the weather band that broadcasts official storm and evacuation alerts, and it packs a flashlight, an SOS beacon, and a big battery that can nudge a little life back into a dead phone. It goes for about $80. This is the device that keeps a family connected to the outside world on the worst night of the year, when everything with a plug has already gone dark. Buy it and stash it long before the forecast turns ugly. It writes like an ordinary pen and rides in a shirt pocket like one, but this is machined from a solid billet of aircraft aluminum for a second, quieter job. The Smith & Wesson tactical pen has a hardened tip meant to shatter a car window in an emergency. The kind of thing that gets someone out of a vehicle that has gone into water or caught fire, when a door will not open and seconds count. It is about $43. The beauty of it is how unremarkable it looks. It draws no attention, sets off no alarms, and simply clips there doing pen duty until the day it is suddenly the most important tool in the car. Drivers keep one in the console, travelers keep one in a bag. It is a small, solid, honest piece of gear that hopes to spend its whole life just signing receipts. 2,300 lumens is enough to turn the middle of the night into a hard white noon, and this drops all of it into the palm of your hand. The Olight Warrior 3S is a serious tactical flashlight with a dual switch layout, a fast tail button, and a side dial, and a clever proximity sensor that dials the beam down if it senses your hand or a bag too close, so it never scorches what it should not. You get it direct from Olight for about $120. It recharges by simply snapping onto a magnetic cable, which sounds like a small thing until you have fumbled a tiny charging port in the cold and dark. This is a light for when you need to genuinely own the darkness out to a few hundred yards, down a long driveway, across a field, into the far corner of a property where the trouble tends to start. Can a campfire charge your phone? This one actually can, and watching it work the first time is a genuinely strange little marvel. The BioLite Camp Stove 2 Plus burns nothing but twigs and pine cones, no gas canister required, and a heat-powered generator inside turns that fire into electricity, enough to run a USB cable and slowly refill a phone or a headlamp while dinner cooks on top. It runs about $200. A built-in fan feeds the flames into a hot, nearly smokeless burn, so you are boiling water in a few minutes on fuel you picked up off the ground for free. It is equal parts camp, cook stove, and off-grid charger, which is why it ends up in bug-out plans as much as backpacks. A way to make heat, hot food, and a trickle of power out of nothing but the sticks around your feet. That is 50 pieces of tactical kit that punch well above their price, and every link is in the description. If one earned a spot in your truck or your pack, hit subscribe so the next roundup finds you. Tell me in the comments which you would grab first, the thermal, the satellite texter, or the pen that breaks a window. Thanks for watching Bravo Gadgets.